All right. And again, I just want to say welcome to today's session. Since I've already got a session or already got a question here, I'll go ahead and get started. And if anybody else has questions that they'd like to ask, you can post them in the chat channel, and I'll get to them in the order that they're asked. Or if once we finish the list of questions that we've got, if you want to shout something out, then just let us know. If Oh, well, I was about to explain to people how to hear me, but I'll type that into the channel real quick. All right, Nanette, I see you asked if you can add your address and et cetera to your library name at the top of the header. Right now, the only thing that we have support for in the site title field, which is what that is just one line of plain text. So we don't have any formatting or extensibility in that right now. That is a feature that we are working on getting added. We were trying to get it for last week's update. We weren't able to, so we're still working on getting that put in and tested to make sure that everything's working properly before we roll it out as y'all. But in the near future, you should be able to add more information to that, including additional lines of text. Yes, you will. And so you should have seen, I sent out an email to everyone prior to the last maintenance window, which was on Thursday night. And that linked to a post in our forums about some of the changes that were going to be taking place. So we'll be following a similar format for future releases. So there will be information about what changes are taking place and when they're being rolled out. So yeah, when that does come available, we'll let you know that it's coming. I see that we've got a number of people in the channel. I know that a few people said that they couldn't hear. Hopefully they're able to get that resolved. But if anyone has any questions that they'd like to ask, I'm here for the next hour, and I'll be happy to help you out with them. All right, and viewer 6, I see, said, I know we're supposed to use the images folder within site assets. What happens to the old images file? Do we need to shift those images to the new location? No, you don't have to. The site assets folder has been provided as it's a place that you can put all that stuff that we've added to every library site, just in case that a common repository for all that would be useful for you. If you have your images stored somewhere else and you'd prefer to keep them there, we're not going to do anything to remove or delete those. I mean, unless you ask us to and we work out something that we're going to do. So if you would like to keep using your old images folders, you're welcome to. It's more of a suggested tool for anybody who doesn't already have a workflow set up. So. And Nanette, I see you asked, is there any way to increase the size of the gutter between our portlets and our page contents? The short answer is no. The longer answer is that the way we would have to do that is to roll out new options for the site theming, because that's kind of part of the setup of you know, when you have, say, like this site that I'm on right here is using the default Sass theme, and part of the setup of that is how big these gutters between the sections are. And so if we wanted to increase or decrease that, then that would be a change that would require a new theming option. So if that's something you're interested in, then you can we have a couple of posts in the forums, in the feature request forums already, and those are things that we're taking into consideration as we're developing new things to roll out in future releases. So if there are appearance items like this that you'd like to see change, then that's something that we welcome feedback on there. Viewer 58, I see. I lost my ability to cut, paste, and copy. How can I do that? So yeah, one of the things that came through in the last release on Thursday was that the edit menu in the rich text editor was removed. And the reason for that was, as far as we're aware, and all the tests that we've been able to run, most of those buttons don't actually work. And that's not something that we're able to do anything about, because it's kind of a browser compatibility issue. Like even Google Chrome, in their own technology, you can't use paste buttons like that. So because those buttons were throwing messages that said, oh, you can't do what you're trying to do, we took them out. So to cut, copy, and paste, you still have the option to either use your browser's edit menu, which will be in different places depending on what browser you're using, but it should kind of look like the one that was there in the text editor, or you can use the keyboard shortcuts like Control-C to copy, Control-X to cut, and Control-V to paste. Viewer 58, what browser are you using? Because I've tried it in Firefox and Internet Explorer and Chrome, and I haven't been able to do it in any of those.
He's the account administrator too. I can see that. The only thing that it didn't do was put his email address in there.
Well, that's very strange. I can ask our developers about that, but I was under the impression that it wasn't working for anything. But you should still have, and let me see if I open Internet Explorer, you should still have an option somewhere in the menus within the browser itself to do this. Although I don't entirely know where that would be these days, because the setup for these has been different. Yeah, if you in Internet Explorer, if you hit the Alt key, then it'll expose some menus that are sort of the classic way that menus in the top of a window show up. And so you can go to the edit menu there and use the cut, copy, and paste functions that are in the browser. And there's probably a way in the settings for Internet Explorer to keep that exposed, but I'm not entirely sure what that is. So you can see, like when I hit Alt, it brings up this edit menu, and then I can use the cut, copy, and paste there. Viewer 19, I would like to add Goodreads in the drop-down menu of eShelf and Research. I'm not sure why it's not there. So in the drop-down menus in the top navigation window, the top navigation menu, just using random words, what you'll see is, so you'll see, for example, like in this eShelf and Research, when I click on this, I have a couple of options. I have a home button, and then I have selected sites and digital exhibits. Now, the reason that these two show up is that these are both folders within the eShelf and Research folder, whereas your Goodreads page, if it's not showing up, I assume that that's because it is a page as opposed to a folder. So one of the and these drop-down menus will only show folders right now. So if you want to show your Goodreads there, one of the things you can do is create a folder that's named Goodreads, and then move that page into the folder and set the page as the default view for that folder. So basically, when you click to go into that folder, it'll take you directly to that page. And if you want, I can demonstrate how to do that if that was me moving a little bit too fast. And I'll come back to that once I hear from you, if that's sufficient, or if we need to go through it further, then we can. But Viewer 6, looking at Lapierre's new site, their page spreads across all the available space on my computer. Our page huddles in the middle of the available space. Is that something that can be fixed? Let me pull up their site and see what we're looking at. And can you, viewer 6, can you tell me what library you're with? Okay. So one of the differences that I see in your site versus theirs is that, at least on the home page here, they have hidden the right portlet column, and so you can see here on the on your site you have your location and hours, your calendar, your upcoming events, all this. And when you have portlets visible in the right column, then it'll restrict down the center content area. So if you want to have this content area that displays pages and events and things be larger, then one of the things you can do is, if you do hide the portlet column there, then it will expand out like the Lapierre site has. And if you'd like, I can go through quickly how to do that in general. So on the computers at work, it looks just like this, but there's lots of white space on the right and left. It may be, are those monitors that you're looking at it on are they very large, or do they have a very high resolution? Because there is a max resolution that these sites will expand to. Yeah. And so right now, so one of the things about having what we refer to as a responsive designed website is that it has to be able to deal with a number of different form factors or screen sizes. And you can see the effects of that when I make the browser window larger and smaller, which kind of mimics having a larger and smaller screen. So this is kind of the largest resolution that the site is configured for, and then as I make it smaller, like you'll see things about the site kind of shift around, and you'll see like at some point it jumps and the logo becomes much larger, and the portlets jump down below the center content well, and then if I and the navigation menu goes behind this little accordion button. And so this is kind of getting into the mobile view, and then when it gets very small, like you're on an iPhone, then it's kind of configured to look similar to that. So the answer would be that if you have very large and very high resolution monitors, one of the things that we would need to do is kind of create another larger view of the themes that you're using, so that they can expand out further. Right now, they're not really set up to. And I'll be honest, I'm not one of the designers, so I'm not entirely sure how much work that is to get that put in. But I don't know what I can promise you as far as like when that would get done, or how much support we can offer for you, how flexible it can be. But that is something that I'm happy to follow up with them about and find out for you. Okay. And thanks for your question. Okay, let me see. I think we had another couple. Okay, Nanette, I see. I'm assuming that there's also a theme option. Is there a way to change the color of the black navigation bar under our title? No, there's not currently. One of the other things that we're working on for an upcoming release is a color picker option to allow you to change the palette you're working with, because I know that like black and white is boring, and it's just not very interesting. So that's kind of the basic that we have now as we're beginning beginning with the sites, but we are working on rolling out a color picker to make the whole thing more visually engaging. But I don't think that right now will change the black navigation bar, although I may be incorrect. I'll know more once we get closer to rolling that out. But at the moment, there's no way to change the color of it. And Viewer 58, the alert thing that you're mentioning, do you mean by that? Let me pull up the like alert messages that can show up like above your title in little boxes. Okay, so the way that's done is if you go to this menu that has your username right here, there's an option for configuring an emergency message. And if you click on that, then it'll bring you to a form where you can specify a few different types of message. So if I want to say, and these different options basically just change the color of the message. There's no functionality around that really. But so say I want to add like an info message that says like, hey, the library will be closed today. Then I can put that in and then just hit apply, and it should show up momentarily. Yeah, so that'll show up here, and then you can close it by hitting this little X. But I believe it'll pop back up if I reload the page. That's just so that people can't ignore it. And there's a few settings around. So the configure emergency message is not there, you mean? Okay. Okay. Let me check on that, because we've had some problems where like I wasn't aware that they that y'all couldn't see those, because I believe you should be able to. Okay, so we can probably make that change fairly quickly to get that to show up in your options menu. I apologize for that not being there. Viewer 6, the X on that is just all the way to the right. It's a little faded thing until you mouse over it. But
now I can hear him.
Okay, let's see.
Yeah. Thanks. That was weird because I could hear him.
Yeah, I think that the problem is that the site administrator, although it should be kind of the fullest access besides the admin account that I'm currently logged in with, there's a few things. I know that there's an editable footer that we noticed that people don't have access to that we were expecting them to, and the emergency message apparently also is not exposed. So we'll get that fixed. It's a back-end configuration thing that we'll need to do, but we can get that rolled out to you. Let's see. Stephanie, I see you said we have an email book club portlet showing a grid table thing around it, and I wanted to go away. And let's see. Remind me, were you at what was it? Elk Rapids, Fremont? Okay. I was gonna get there. Okay. Okay, so you're talking about these grid lines here. Yeah, we should be able to get rid of those, because that's probably just some formatting that came from somewhere else. If you copy and pasted it from somewhere or something, then let's see. So if I go down here to manage portlets, and then I go to the email book club, and then okay, so what I see here, Yeah, so this is there's a table here. So we don't want to remove the content that's in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go in and see if I can clear out the table from here. I'll save this off to make sure that I don't accidentally remove and mess the whole thing up. Good plan. You never know what's going to happen. All right, so that should look a little bit better. All right, so if I go back to your home page now. All right, so that looks a lot better. Okay, and I see viewer 6, I saw you had a question about Lapierre's page where they have MAP. Was that done with tables? Let me see. Were there rotating images in there when it was in a table? Okay, let me go back and look at that in a second. Viewer 6, yes, this MAP section was done with a table. So if you would like help adding something like that to your site, then just let us know and I can help you out on that. Okay, let me go back to
Yeah, but there's stuff on the computer and going through it, showing people how to
okay.
edit the stuff. Okay. And, you know, in other words, but if you can't get an edit done, you'll just call them. They will walk you through the edit. That's one thing. They'll be scared. He's taking people to source code.
I don't see anything in here that would. Oh, okay. So it's right here. Let me mess with this on my internal copy of a site so I don't break anything on your own.
What? I have yellow. Oh, good. And black and white. Mm-hmm.
It's telling them to go to the table.
Let's see. What did I just do wrong there?
What about your juice? Huh? You spill it?
Let's see. So that's odd. Oh, that's great to hear, Steve. And viewer 6, I'm glad that you're enjoying it. I'm happy that we've been able to get you guys more control. We want you to be able to do all this stuff with your sites. Let's see, and we are planning on adding more features for more control. those are in progress. What I'm wondering about is if that script to get the images to rotate is even working in here. I'm not sure why this isn't showing up on my internal page. Yeah, I mean, the help sessions here, they're intended to just be a continuing resource for y'all, since I know that it's very hard to communicate through the help desk system about some sorts of problems. So we do like having a live help resource for y'all. And let's see. And so we plan to keep helping and keep doing these, and if possible, I know that I heard from Henry Stokes, the Plinkett coordinator from Texas, about some suggestions for additional, more pointed, like basics training, and so we're going to be doing some of those this week, and in the future, we're always looking for new topics to explore with y'all, and so yeah, we are looking to keep doing that. I'm not sure why that portlet's not showing up. My understanding was that we were talking about the. Are we still talking about the email book club one? Okay, so you're still okay. So it's still got the table that was showing up before. Huh. So one of the things that we have been hearing, and obviously, like I'm not seeing this, but is that some people have been having to log out and log back in to see changes to their portlets, which is not a problem that we've seen internally. But if you could log out of your site and log back in real quick and see if that changes what's showing up, that would be really helpful to see if you're experiencing that.
80-668-830.
In a second, what I want to see first is when you log out and log back in, whether you still see what you were seeing or whether you see what's showing up on my screen. Because what's showing up on my screen is the portlet that has been edited and has the table taken out, and it's not rotating. There should not be anything in the, and I don't see anything in this code that would cause removing the table to stop it from running the script that it's running to rotate those images. Okay, see, so you're seeing it change also. Table's gone. My images are rotating, but it seems like the images and the rotating words underneath aren't matching up. This is weird. This is weird. Yeah. Which I didn't see anything that was in the. I mean the HTML that I was editing is pretty straightforward. I didn't see anything that would.
Just one person who's asking all these questions.
Like that.
Who's solving her problems, not a general.
So let's see. I'm in opening in another browser and I'm not logged in. I don't see it rotating anything here though. Well, there's that.
Doing the code, and I'm like, I don't need to know how to rewrite the code. That's what he keeps doing, and that's what he wants you to do.
Christine, tables are. I mean, they're basically just something to help you with the layout of items that you want to arrange, sort of in a grid. You don't have to use them if you don't want to. It's just something to help you get things looking a certain way if you'd like to. One of the downsides of them is that they are kind of if you create a table, it makes the page want to stay at the size that table was created at, and so when you make your display smaller, like say you're on a phone or something, then you'll have to scroll back and forth like to the left and right because the page can't shrink that table without potentially breaking all like how everything looks inside it. So although it is on like full monitors and desktops and stuff, it often makes sense to lay things out using tables. We kind of caution against using it too much because it is important. The more people use phones and tablets and things with really small screens, the more it is likely that they'll be hard to view on those. So for example, like on this, well, and this one is working fine. So you can see like this table is actually growing just fine with the page. Not all of them do that, I guess. This is probably designed a bit more intelligently than just the plain tables. I don't think we have them automatically set up to do that right. I'll stop looking through code. I'm sure that you guys aren't interested in that. Viewer 30, yes, the rollout for that has not taken place yet. I have seen some internal tests of it. I've been able to make some changes to sites and change the colors around in our internal environments, but I think that our developers and our designers are still polishing that up to make sure that we don't break anything when we roll it out. We are planning on rolling it out in the near future. I don't have a date for that yet, but I am pushing on them to get that to you guys as soon as we can. And when it is coming out, we will post an update saying like, hey, it's color time. So I'm sorry that it's taking a while for us to get there, but it is in the near future. Yeah. Well, I am not sure why the book club thing is not rotating for me if it's doing it for y'all. And I don't think that the table code that was in there shouldn't have anything to do with it. So it should work fine without that. One of the other things you can do if you do have a situation where you would prefer to use tables, if you click into an existing table and go to properties and go to advanced, then on the border color, if you put in transparent, I know this used to work and I've been having some trouble getting it to work. Lily. That putting in transparent as the border color should cause that border to actually disappear. So you'd still get your stuff laid out in the table, but the lines of it won't appear. And we're not seeing it because I'm not able to get this portlet to show up for some reason, but that is another way you could address that if you, for some reason, couldn't or didn't want to remove that table.
There's evidently they're having trouble getting it fixed. He decided to quit going to code because
Sure, yeah, and you're welcome. And yes, I can show you how to do that. So one of the ways, so in any, we can take any of these folders that are in the top navigation here. So I'll just go to the kids folder, and when I click on kids home, no matter what the view settings for that folder are, it's going to take me to that folder. And what you can do is, and which folder would you like the writers group site or page as the default view for? Okay, so it's in adults. So if I go to adults here, so right now this is showing, and if I click on the display menu here, it'll say, so this folder is currently in standard view, and so what that's going to do is it's going to show you a list of all the stuff that's in here. And so in this case, there's a whole bunch of folders here. So, and the red ones are private and the blue ones are public. I can see all those because I'm logged in as a user who has the rights to see all that. So you're wanting the writers group to show up. So, and that's this page right here. So to get that to show up as the view for a folder, you would go to the display menu, and then you go to select a content item as default view. And then when you do that, it'll give you a list of all the pages inside that folder. And so right now in this writers group folder, the only option is this page. So I would click this button and then hit save, and it will bring that up as the default view for that folder. Now I'm in the writers group folder right now as opposed to the adults folder that's a part of. And so so if you want that writers group page to show up as the default view for the adults folder, you'll actually have to move it from your writers group folder into the adults folder here, and then go to select content item. And so you can see there's only folders here right now. There's no pages, so there's nothing that you're allowed to set as a default view for this folder. So and moving this writers group page out of the folder will, and I guess removing that folder would remove it from this menu. But when you click on Adults Home, it would take you to the writers group page. So basically, you would have Adults Home would take you to writers group, and then you would also have the options computer classes, Wednesday readers, and daytime book group. So does all that make sense? Okay, so if you want to go to the writers group page, when you click on the writers group, then all you would do is you go to that folder and you go to your display menu, and instead of standard view or any of these ones, you would select content item as default view. This is already selected because there's only one. And then when you hit save, it'll actually reload your folder. And so now every time you click on adults and go to writers group, then it will take you directly to that page. You're welcome. If I missed anything, we're doing that.
Want you? No. I said no. You tell Brady. I'm busy. He's supposed to be watching you.
All right. And Christine, I saw also you asked about the ETA for going live. So, let's see. So there's a few different parts to that answer. One of them is that your Plowed site is already live. So for instance, Fremont.plow.net, that's accessible to anyone who knows that it's there, or anyone who searches for it in Google or whatever. What has to be done manually is, if you have a custom domain name, which most of you guys do. So if you have something like fremontlibrary.org or something like that you've been using right now, unless you've changed it already, that's pointing at your old Plinkett site. And so one of the tasks that you'll have to do to make that go live, so as we say, is to go and talk to the domain registrar, which is the company that you bought your custom domain name from, and go to their website and say, hey, right now my domain, fremontlibrary.org or whatever it is pointing at this something.plinkett.org site. I need it to point to my something.plow.net site. And so you'll make that change. You'll let us know by logging a ticket in our support help desk to say, hey, this is my custom domain name. Make sure that it's in your system. We'll confirm with you that we've got it entered so that everything's working from our end. And then once you've updated that with your domain registrar, then whenever somebody goes to that same URL that they used to go to, it'll bring them to this site instead of your old one. So in answer to when we're going to go live, it's kind of determined by when that update with your domain registrar is done. And so you have some control over you can continue editing and updating your new site until you've got it looking the way you want it to. And then at that point, you can make the switch over. And so I know that I've talked to Sonia up in Michigan about there are a number of libraries who are kind of having this managed for them by somebody else at the state of Michigan. And so for those people, then there may be a set date that those are getting moved over or something like that. I'm not entirely sure on the process. If your URL is Mish Library, I think that's the group that I'm talking about. And I've been in some communication with them. Okay, there you go. Thank you, Sonia. So on August 13th, all the mishlibrary.org sites are going to move from the old Plinkett, pointing to the old Plinkett site to pointing to your Plowed site. Yes. So if you are not one of the mishlibrary.org libraries, then the intent of putting in the ticket and letting us know will be on our servers. We make sure that our records are updated so that we recognize that requests for that website, whatever your custom domain name is, should route to our site. So if you've updated with your domain registrar company and then you've updated with us, then both of those things will make sure that the whole system works. And when you put in that URL that you're used to, it'll bring you to this site. Yes, that's true. Any of the Mish Library sites, if you want to take care of that, if you're ready to go now, then. Yeah, we'll be handling all this. Sonia's helping out with us, and we very much appreciate her help in the transition. But we're running point on all of these things as much as we can. Okay, let me get to your site. So you said you made a calendar folder in the About Us navigation tab, but haven't been able to make the calendar show up correctly. Okay, so if I go to About Us, that's on. what it should be doing is opening a drop-down menu of options. I don't know why it's doing that. Let me try opening it in a different window. Will my old site still be viewable if I put in a ticket with Infold until my domain host makes the change? Yes. So until your domain host has flipped that over, then your old site will continue to be the one that shows up when people go to your custom domain. And there's okay. Okay, so for some reason it wasn't working in Chrome. It's working in Firefox for me. So okay, so I open this drop down and go to Calendar. So there's currently nothing in here. So let me log in. Oh. And thank you for joining us and asking questions. We're happy to help. Okay, so if I'm logged in and I'm on this calendar folder, and I want to see a calendar here, so what you would have to do is actually add a calendar object into this folder. And so you should be able to do that when you go to Add New. I believe you'll have an option for calendar, and I don't think that there's a lot of configuration that needs to be done around that. You can add whatever title you want to it. And then when you save it, then it will create a calendar that's similar to the one that's generally in the News and Events folder. I know that your organization is a little bit different on your site, and I like the way you got this set up. But yeah, so adding a calendar to that folder should get you, and then of course you add that calendar to that folder, and then you would go and set the calendar as the default view for that folder.
Sorry for my daughter. Anyway, so that's with her calendar.
So I like you're so different.
Have you got a couple of minutes? Because I had to do this.
All right, yeah. So I see that you've created your calendar now, and then once you set it as your awesome, glad to hear it.
Okay.
The big guy, everybody's
Messing with
big.
stuff.
Everybody's big guy. Yeah. The big guy comes. That's her fault.
Viewer 6, the option to send to iCal format. I honestly don't know the answer to that. I'm not. I would not call myself anything close to an expert on on using iCal and Android calendars and stuff. So I'm not entirely sure what is and isn't supported there. But I can make a note about that and follow up. And of course, if you do want to, I'm making notes and I'll follow up where I can. I know I've still got some from our last help session that I need to follow up with. If you want to have sort of a, it may be slow, but we will definitely get you an answer if you log a ticket or create a question on the discussion forums. Those are places where we're able to monitor much more accurately, like what requests have been taken care of and which ones are still pending. So honestly, you shouldn't have a problem with Chrome. That's one of the first times something like that has happened, and it may just be that there's a caching problem that's causing it not to load the site fully or something like that. I've had those sorts of things occasionally, but this is I haven't seen Chrome have problems with the drop-down menus previously. I wouldn't expect that to be standard, so I think that's probably just something that's not loading correctly on my computer. But it should resolve itself if I just figure out what it is I need to close and reopen.
I'll take it next week.
So yeah, so I closed and reopened that tab, and now it's working again. So one of those mysteries that happens sometimes, like a browser just not loading part of its functionality, and then you try it again and it works. So we've got another 10 minutes before the end of the session. So if anybody else who's here has any questions or anything that they'd like me to take a look at with them, then just let me know, and I'll be happy to help. And so I guess in the meantime, just as a little preview of what's coming up for the rest of the week, in the help desk under this upcoming webinars and live help sessions, we do have another open session like this one on Thursday morning, and then also tomorrow and Friday we'll be doing a couple of basic editing and cloud sessions, and so the intent of those is for folks who are a little less familiar with how to do kind of foundational things like how to add a page or an event, or how to edit existing pages and events, and how to get into and navigate the Manage Portlet screens, to just do some basic site configuration and editing. Those are things that I know some people would like a little bit more targeted help on just getting familiar with those, and so we'll be running through that, and it'll be a bit more structured, where it's more me talking you through, like I'll be demonstrating how to do those things, and then if you do have any questions while I'm doing it, if you want to follow along and then say, hey, like I just tried to do what you did and it didn't work, why not? Then I can help out with that. Okay, Viewer 30, as far as like smartphones, one of the things that you can do is if you just open your site in a normal browser window, and then you can actually, if you just resize your browser window down, the only difference between like a smartphone view and a like computer view is that the browser is smaller as far as the website is concerned. So you can actually mimic the mobile view by just making your browser window smaller, and so you can see that as it gets smaller, it changes a little bit. And this, where did it go? This is actually pretty close to what your site would look like on a phone. I mean, the window is going to be a little smaller, like so, but this is kind of what you would see when you go to your site on a phone, and you can see that you've got your drop down menu right here behind this accordion button. So yeah, so take a look at that. That's an easy way to do that. Viewer 6, explanatory definitions on different portlet types. Yes, we can cover some of that, and I will say that in the help desk, one of the sections that we do have is specifically on portlets, just because I know it's a weird topic for those who aren't familiar with what they are and how they work and all this stuff. And so we do have some basic articles on here about kind of like the different types of portlets, and they're more very basic items. Yeah, and those are sort of about how to add each one of those, and each one of those will include a little bit of information about like what those portlets are for. One of the things that now that you're mentioning it would probably be a good thing for me to add into this section is kind of like an overview of just like, here are all the different types of portlets. Here's what they're generally used for, and then kind of that can be a table of contents for these different articles. Yeah, I agree with you, and I feel bad that I haven't already put it in there. So I will make a note to myself to get that done as soon as I have a few spare minutes to do that. So I know that's how it goes. So many good ideas, and I just need to make sure that I follow through on them. So yeah, I will add that in, and when you go to this portlet section, when I do add it in, I'll put that right at the top, so it'll be there. The portlet borders can be removed on some of them. So for instance, on this location and hours portlet, that's created as a static text portlet, and so if you go to your portlet management screen and go to your location and hours portlet, you can click omit portlet border. Sorry, it's opening that. So if I click omit portlet border, then that will show it to you without the right, and that didn't. Okay, so that change didn't load. Let me see if I log out real quick and then go back here. So you can see it's updated, and now you don't have a border around that. So you can do that with your static text portlets, but with something like a calendar or a navigation tree, those borders are going to stick around. I don't believe that we have the same omit border option on all of them. Hope I'm saying something that's true, and check that right now just to make sure I'm not lying to you on accident.
Now they may have to see that arbitrate it, but they don't have to.
So if I go to this navigation portlet, yeah, so there's no option here to omit the portlet border. So for static text portlets, you can make it show up that way, but not for the other ones. Oh, you mean? Oh, okay. You mean in the navigation portlet right here, the one that says home. Oh, look, and now it's rotating. Look at that. It is working. I just had to log out and log back in, just like I was telling y'all to do.
They set the tax rates and everything. That's how they do that. Just like the county commissioners do it for the county, and the city council does it for city tax. The school board does it. The hospital board does it for the hospital.
So we are obviously having a little bit of trouble with changes being cached and the cache not being refreshed. So what that means is, like, when we change portlets and when we change themes, sometimes it doesn't register immediately. I know that we're working on getting that worked out. Worst case, you can usually just force the page to refresh, and yeah. So yeah, in the Slate themes, the portlet borders are not shown. So if you prefer without those borders, that's one of the options that you have. Christine, the rotating table. So it's rotating. I don't think it's rotating because it's in the table. I know that we said that the one that's actually on the Fremont site looked to everybody else like it was rotating correctly, even without the table stuff in there. Although for me, it's still not showing up as doing that.
That's who he is.
So, but as far as the rotating images, and what that's coming from is that there's a script that's embedded in the image that's in that portlet. So it's something that's there. It's separate from the fact that it's in a table. And so if I look at the source code here, which is unintelligible mostly, then there's this script right here that's doing the rotating images stuff. We don't have a how-to on the rotating images. It's something that I'm working on. It's honestly and we refer to those as carousels. We have one of the features that we've said that we will support and we don't have implemented right now is adding carousels to your pages. And in the meantime, while we're working on getting that to a point where we can release it to y'all, a number of libraries who have someone who's kind of a little bit more familiar with how to do HTML code editing and scripting and stuff, some of those sites have added in their own rotating images. And so I'm looking at those and seeing if there's a way I can generalize it and give you a guide for how to do that. But I haven't finished that yet. So in short, we're working on it. Yeah, I know, and that's one of the things that we've gotten a lot of people asking about, and so we're trying to get that rolled out to y'all so we can. So the things that I've heard a lot of feedback about are being able to edit the site title, which is the thing at the top here in the header, having more configuration around that. The color and theming options for the sites, because not everybody wants to see black and white and gray, and then the carousel support. So those are three things that are definitely high priorities for us, and I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to send out an email to y'all real soon that says, hey, guess what? It's going to be here. And as soon as I know when that's going to be, y'all hear from me. And so with that, well, I'm glad to hear that. So with that, that's about the end of today's open session. There will be another one on Thursday, and there are a couple of more basic editing sessions throughout the week. And of course, recording of this session and all of our webinar sessions will be available on the help desk under that webinar recordings section in the knowledge base. So until next time, thank you all for coming. Thank you for asking a bunch of great questions and being patient with me while I work through this stuff with you. And yeah, I'll talk to you again soon.